All right, let's get right into it. We're tackling a question that, a lot of us car lovers have probably daydreamed about. Can a convertible actually be your daily car? I'm talking the everyday grind, the commute, the grocery runs, the whole shebang. Or is it doomed to be just a fun weekend toy? Let's find out.
And this quote from Motor Junkie just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that stereotype. When you think convertible, you're picturing the perfect sunny day cruising down a beautiful road. You're not picturing, a surprise thunderstorm on the way to work or trying to find a safe parking spot. So we're here to see if that romantic image can survive a collision with real life.
So, let's start with the dream itself. Before we get into all the practical nuts and bolts, why do we even want one of these cars so badly? The pull is real, and believe me, it's about way more than just getting from point A to point B.
And this is where you really get it. That feeling of driving with the top down, it's a total game changer. You're not just looking at the world through a little glass box anymore, you are in it. The views are incredible, totally panoramic. It injects this shot of freedom and excitement into the most boring trips. Suddenly, that daily commute can feel like a mini vacation. And hey, let's be real, they look amazing. These cars just turn heads.
Okay, so the dream is awesome. We've established that. But a dream doesn't have to deal with a freezing cold morning, or worry about security, or figure out how to fit a week's worth of groceries in the trunk. So can the reality of owning one every single day actually live up to that amazing feeling? Well, that brings us to the very first and maybe the biggest decision you've got to make.
And that is, of course, the roof itself. This one choice, are you going hard top or soft top, is going to fundamentally shape your entire experience with the car. It affects everything from how safe you feel to how much it costs, and even how the car drives. And this chart lays it all out pretty clearly. On one hand, you've got the hard top. It gives you that coupe-like security and quiet. It's way better insulated, which is amazing if you live somewhere that gets cold, and it just gives you more peace of mind. But there's always a but, right? It's heavier, it costs more, and that complicated folding mechanism can take a huge bite out of your trunk space. Then you've got the classic soft top. It's lighter, which is good for fuel economy, it's usually cheaper, and it often goes up and down faster. The downsides? Well, they're the obvious ones. It's less secure, not as well insulated from noise or cold, and yeah, it can be pretty chilly on a winter morning before that heater gets going.
So you've picked your roof, but that's not the end of the story. Living that top-down life means you're going to have to accept a few other practical trade-offs that go way beyond just what the roof is made of. So what's this number? 85 decibels? Well, listen to this. According to some research, when you're driving with the top down at highway speeds, you can be exposed to noise levels over 85 decibels. So why should you care? Because health institutes say that being exposed to noise above that level for too long can cause permanent hearing damage. That amazing, liberating feeling of cruising on the highway could literally come at a long-term cost to your hearing. And this list really lays out the other stuff you need to think about. For starters, convertibles almost always cost more than the standard coupe version. Then there's the maintenance. That complex roof has a lot of moving parts, and more parts means more things that can break. You're pretty much guaranteed to have less trunk space and probably tighter back seats. And yeah, with older models especially, leaks can be a real headache. Plus, all that wonderful sun can be brutal on your interior, fading the leather and cracking the dashboard over time. And finally, all the extra metal needed to keep the car from flexing means more weight, which can mean you're using a bit more gas.
Okay, wow. That was a pretty heavy dose of reality, I know. But hey, for every problem there's a solution, or at least a smart way to manage it. So let's shift gears and look at how people who own these cars actually deal with these challenges every day.
So when we say costly or maintenance, what are we really talking about? Well, for a convertible, a huge part of that is just taking care of the roof itself. A fabric soft top isn't something you can just ignore. It needs specific care to keep it looking good and, more importantly, to keep the rain out. First things first, you can't just take this thing through a regular automatic car wash. This process here shows you how to do it right. You're going to want to start by vacuuming the dry fabric to get all that loose sand and dirt off first. Then a gentle rinse with a hose, followed by a special foam cleaner. You let that sit for a bit, then you gently brush it, and we'll look at that technique in a sec before rinsing it all off really, really well. The key here is just being gentle and having some patience. So this is what that looks like in action. You see how the cleaner is being applied really evenly across the whole surface? That's what you want. You're not just spot cleaning, which can end up leaving its own marks. You're treating the entire roof so it looks uniform and clean when you're done. Now this part is super important. Look at the technique. It has to be a soft bristled brush, and you're always moving from the front of the car to the back.
Why? Because you're working with the grain of the fabric, not against it. This pulls the dirt out without roughing up the material or causing damage.
So to wrap up roof care, think of this as your cheat sheet. The big ones are: get corrosive stuff like bird droppings off immediately. Never, ever operate the roof when it's wet. Folding a damp top is just asking for mildew. And please, no pressure washers or ice scrapers. You will destroy the fabric. It's all about being gentle. Okay, so maintenance? Check. It's manageable. But what about that other big practical issue we talked about? That teeny tiny trunk? Look, you can't magically make it bigger, but you can get way smarter about how you pack it.
It's really all about strategy. You got to play Tetris with your stuff. You want heavy things low and as far forward as possible to help the car's balance. Use soft things like duffel bags or even clothes to stuff into all those weird nooks and crannies created by the roof mechanism. And here's a pro tip. Whatever you think you'll need to grab first, pack it last so it's right there on top. Seriously, with a little planning, you'd be amazed how much you can fit.
So, what's the bottom line here? Look, modern convertibles are way more practical than they used to be, but they will always ask for compromises. You're trading a little bit of space, a little bit of quiet, and a little more of your time for that feeling, that absolutely unmatched feeling of driving with an open sky above you. The dream of daily driving a convertible is totally real. It's achievable, but it's definitely not for everyone. So the real question isn't, can it be done? It's, is the trade-off worth it for you?